Hey guys, I'm so super excited today. I'm here with my friend Navid Moazzez, and he has built his brand really quickly. In a very short amount of time, he has become known as the Virtual Summit go-to expert. He helps you create, promote, and profit from your virtual summit. And it's like totally awesome. He's like been connecting with a lot of influencers, and he's actually been able to do what most people are struggling with in the start, to make some actual money on his online business. I'm so glad to have you here, Navid.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's going to be a lot of fun and great to connect with you more and share my journey a little bit with your audience here today.
Awesome. So how did it start out?
Well, where should we begin? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we speak about kind of when I started, what turned into my business was in 2013. So, my original story was that I was in law school. I dropped out. Then, a lot of incidents happened along the way. I stumbled across personal development, read Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People, then 4 Hour Work Week. Then, unfortunately, a very tragic accident kind of led to me even starting and going into this in the first place. Was kind of when my brother, he passed away. I had already started my online journey a little bit with connecting with people, but this was just a wake-up call that I need to stop procrastinating and just do it pretty much. I mean, it sounds simple, but at that point, it really felt that now it's now or never pretty much. I need to do something, and that's what I did. Obviously, it was a hard moment, and I managed to turn this adversity into something better and eventually into success as well. But it was, I mean, you mentioned in the intro, kind of I grew my brand super quickly, but a lot of people, it was maybe to the outside, it looked like it was fast, and to some people, I mean, if you look at business on the outside, like growing a multi-6-figure business, it can take them years to do that. In my case, it took me around two years or so to get to that point. Like from when I started out, like 18 months was kind of when my business started to take off, after I had like been blogging, starting out like just documenting my journey in the beginning, and then starting a podcast, which didn't really take off. I just kind of was doing what everyone else expected from me. Even the podcast built relationships, right? But it didn't grow my email list that fast and wasn't generating a lot of cash flow in my business. And then I found out about virtual summits, which is kind of similar concept, like that you can interview experts in your field. I was already doing that very well on my podcast. I thought, why not? You can grow your email list quickly with a virtual summit, and in the back end, you can sell the all access pass with the recordings and some bonuses, and generate quite a bit of money. In some cases, I saw summits that were generating 6 to 7 figures in revenue, and I was like blown away. Wow. I just had to go all in and figure out how to do this. I had never done it before. Pretty much the same when I did my first video interview over Skype with Pat Flynn in June 2013. I had never done that before, but I decided to go for it. I decided in the beginning, first of all, I reached out to him, and then I did the interview. And if I hadn't done that, like taking this first step in reaching out to, someone I admire, someone influential in my field, I wouldn't be here today, because that enabled me to also create this summit. I had 88 experts on the summit. I called the Branding Summit, and that aired in November 2014, and it was a big success for me. Like I had roughly 1,000 email subscribers at that point in November 2014. That was after 18 months. Like that's, I mean, to some people might say, that's okay, but that was really horrible compared to what I could have done. I could have had thousands if I just focused more on the right thing and growing my email list. So with that virtual summit, I grew my list by around 3,000 people, and I got $20,000 in profit, which was amazing. It was mind-blowing at the time, like waking up in the morning, having sales coming in, and it went so well so that during the summit, I quit my draining part-time job at the bank, and then at the same time, I also decided, why should I stay in Sweden, right? So I just moved abroad and kind of spent most of 2015 in Mexico, traveling to the US, visiting friends. And now, as we are recording this, I just moved to Barcelona. So I live in the nice apartment in the city, but it wasn't always this way. It's like a lot of hustle leading up to this point. So that's kind of, I guess, the short quick version of how I got here today.
That's really awesome. Thanks a lot for sharing, Navid. So, like, basically, you had this like big moment with your brother, and you kind of needed to kind of reevaluate your life, and then you kind of pushed yourself out of the comfort zone with your first interview with Pat Flynn, and then you kind of discovered the tool with the virtual summit, and then you kind of just went 110% for it.
Yeah, that's exactly how it was. I mean,
Wow.
it was kind of up and down. I was doing my blog for quite some time in the beginning. It was very challenging because English is not my native language, and it was just difficult. You know, I'm not an it's like yourself, and I have some. I mean, I started to meet some other friends in the industry, and they were like, we kind of started talking. I met Jan in the mastermind. I met Primoz Bosic eventually, and some other people, and I got more confidence. I also did a blog challenge where I kind of started to find my voice a little bit more. Before, it was mostly that I was kind of transcribing the interviews and like writing like a blog post based on the content there. And then as I went along, I learned more and more. I wrote more kind of in-depth blog posts. And then now it's now I'm comfortable in writing a 10,000 word epic guide. If I need to, it takes me time, of course, but I can still do it, and people usually love the content I create. But it's like you have to practice to get there. The same way you have to nurture and build the relationships with influencer without expecting anything in return. You're just gonna do it because you actually like their content. You want to connect with them, like from a kind of in an authentic way, genuine standpoint. That's kind of what I like to do.
Yeah. So, because it's from like what my audience is also very interested about is how to kind of build their brand fast, and like how I see it with like your awesome success in such a short period of time, that kind of when I started that, I kind of had like a big roundup post where I interviewed a lot of experts. But I feel kind of like your virtual summit is you're taking it even further. So, because what you basically do, just so I understand it correct, you basically invite a lot of experts and you interview them, and then you just package it, and then you give it away as a lead magnet.
Yeah, more or less, that's how it works. So there's kind of the plan. First, obviously, you're gonna figure out what you want to do your summit on, and when you've done that, kind of goes into kind of positioning the summit the right way, and then the planning stage, like really figuring out who do I want to invite on as a speaker, and kind of the logistics when it's gonna take place and so on. But yeah, so you invite typically 20 to 30 speakers, maybe in some cases like 50 speakers I've seen work well. I had 88 on my first one. You don't need to have that many to be successful at all. But for a pre-recorded summit, typically I'll say around 20 to 50. And if you structure your summit as a course, it's just easier to kind of plan for the interviews. Let's say you have, for the self-publishing success summit, you have 3 phases, and they were writing, marketing, publishing, and monetizing. It's just easier to fit in the interviews you kind of under the phases, instead of just kind of doing like a podcast. You have like a bunch of interviews, and they don't really connect it to each other. Rather, with the summit, what I like to do, so it's like higher perceived values, to have, it's just structure the summit as a course and have it more as a step-by-step framework or process. So you need to think about that a little bit, especially if you want to stand out and not be like everyone else with your summits, because there's a lot of people doing their summits now, because it's kind of like coming back. It's been around for a long time with the telesummits. But I'm trying to really kind of reinvent the summits a little bit there, in the sense that I care about high quality design, great content, and yeah, they take a little bit longer to create, around 2 to 3 months. Mostly if you have maybe less experience with the tech stuff, maybe a little bit longer, but still the return is amazing when it comes to like connecting with the influencers, and not really expecting, you should not expect everyone to promote. A lot of people write in a contract like, hey, promote my summit, promote this and that. That's not how you build a relationship. That's a transactional whatever. It feels very transactional. So I wouldn't do that. And I instead focus on the content. So when you're sitting here, doing your interviews for a summit, you really focus on getting the best possible information out of the speakers you have on. And they, if it's a good fit, they will share it as well. Yeah, so you don't need to have written in a contract that that they should promote the summit, because that feels very transactional, and that's not the way you build an authentic, powerful relationship with an influencer. Instead, focus on the content. You're sitting here writing some amazing content, and then you make it easy for them to promote. Obviously, you're gonna have the swipe copy, you will have images, graphics, and all this stuff. That's just natural. And also be very clear with them when they should promote. Like, I mean, that there's a difference with, you're not forcing them to promote, but you're making it easy for them. You have, like, let's say, a promotional calendar for them. You have all this stuff, so it's like a real kind of affiliate launch. And then the content is amazing too. So if they have time in the promotional schedule, obviously you let them know in advance. You ask them, because you need to ask. You cannot like sit there and expect, hey, just because the content was great, you're gonna promote it. You have to let them know about it. You have to let them know when they should promote. And if they don't want to, that's okay. Even if the content is great, maybe they get emails afterwards saying, hey, I love this interview, and you can link up their lead magnets. So maybe they get leads from your summit, they get people emailing, maybe they get business from your summit as well. And even if they didn't promote in that case, don't you think they will remember you? Don't you think that if you reach out again, maybe they will promote you next time? And that's a big mistake people make, in the sense that they just quit building the relationship. They're like, oh, this person didn't promote me. It's not worth my time to even continue building that relationship. But what they should do instead is to nurture this relationship, like add value without expecting anything in return. And when you have something, maybe later on, you have a book, a summit, a launch, or maybe you want to do a partner webinar or workshop for their audience, then you would reach out, and then they are much more likely to say yes. Obviously not 100% guaranteed, but if you build a relationship so they're like a friend almost to a certain degree, I mean, the odds are very, very high that they will say yes. And that's kind of the mindset you need to have in order to be successful, not only with summits, but in general with anything like product launches, affiliate partnerships, and so on.
Definitely. And that's also what I think is that most people are like, it's hard for them to understand that, like, it's easy for them to understand, like, okay, I need to give value, and like perhaps I will get something back. But like most people, I think don't understand that it's a long-term game. So what you need to do with an influencer, like it's way different to kind of get to know like some other blogger that's on your same level, and if you go for like some of the big dogs, because you have to kind of just give and give and give and give, and like if you do it consistently in a non-sleazy pushy way, like finally they will notice you if you do it in the right way and you create the epic content.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's how it was for me as well. Like people who maybe didn't even respond to maybe be on my first summit, later actually they found the email, because that's also something that can happen. They can, they get a lot of emails, so they don't open it, they don't see it the first time around. So you got to have a follow-up system in place too, to kind of maybe use a plugin with Gmail, like Boomerang or Follow-Up, whatever it is. Doesn't really matter what you use, just as long as you have a system for it, so you remember to follow up maybe a week later, then maybe 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, whatever it is. And then, I always try to get a yes or no from someone. And no doesn't always mean no forever, which is important to understand. Like if you have a very bad approach though, then it might mean a no forever. But if you just follow, like, maybe you, if it's a cold approach, like you're reaching out via email, and then you might if they're an author, read their book, like reference to something in their book, or like leave an Amazon review or video review and send it to them, without asking for anything in return in that first email. Just send it to them. You'll be surprised. Like people don't do this. People don't let people know about this. And let's say you're an expert, like let's say someone reads my blog, or someone in the expert industry space. What do we need? Case studies. So what you can do is either you taking a course or just read a blog post and like getting some results and letting that person know about it. I mean, you might be featured in front of like tens of thousands of email subscribers if you do that too, because we need case studies and we love to feature people who get results. So that would probably be the most powerful way to build these authentic, powerful relationships, and that can skyrocket your business. I mean, you've done some amazing things with like getting testimonials from John Lee Dumas, Jamie Tardy, and other people in this industry, and that's through like being authentic. You didn't expect them to return a favor, but at some point it kind of was natural for you to just ask them. You asked them. You still had to ask. That's important though, right? They wouldn't just send you the testimonial. Maybe they would leave a comment and you can like ask them, can I use this comment? But it wasn't really this way. In some cases, you actually, reached out via email and they sent it back to you.
Yeah, definitely. And like, it's very funny the way you mentioned the thing about like to become a star student, because that's, as you say, like in my experience as well, that's the best way to get to know influencers, is to like take the course, and instead of being like this speaker guy or speaker gal, like, oh, look at me, I am going to become your best student, like just watch me in 2 months, I promise you. It's like, just shut up and like apply massive action and just show them the results, and like they will notice you.
Yeah, totally. It's how it's been for pretty much every single course I've been. Like how I connected with, let's say, Ramit Sethi was actually not even with Ramit Sethi directly. It was via like Michael Alexis, which used to work for kind of Ramit in the past. And then Michael, since I connected with him, getting Ramit featured in one of my expert roundup posts together with Selena Sue, then he kind of, because Selena Sue also rejected me in the past when I reached out to her for interviews and different things, and then I finally got her to commit for the branding summit. So that kind of, and now I was a speaker at her event, which is kind of funny, like how it all progressed, and now we're good friends. And with Ramit Sethi, just to get back to that, Michael Alexis connected me with his team when they had an opportunity to interview some of his most successful students for Zero to Launch, the first launch he did for that program. And I just blew Ramit and his team away, like really writing some in-depth posts about like Primoz Bosic's success, going through the program, and some other students as well. And later, they also reached out for me to, since I did such a great job with that, they wanted to invite me to be a partner for Series to Launch in the future, because they are very selective with who they pick for promoting, I Will Teach You to Be Rich programs. And I then, became an affiliate, and I was very successful with that too. And then I finally, after a few promotions, I did pretty well. And then I did my summit. And in January of 2015, last year, I did like a crazy promotion where I got like 32 sales for Zero to Launch. I became Ramit's #1 affiliate and making like $40,000 in a month. Got his grand cash prize of like $7,500. It was just insane, like getting this kind of success, like because I had a small list of like 3,500 subscribers. And then Ramit invited me to lunch in LA, where I kind of got to meet him. And since then I met him several times, and it's just a very chill, like to connect with him, because even though he's very successful with an 8-figure business, when I met him, I didn't just like pick his brain. I didn't like bombard him with questions like most people, like be like a fan, like, hey, Ramit, like, obviously I have a picture with Ramit, but like not like, hey, Ramit, like, let's take pictures. Like most people, they stand in a line for taking, like, I met Ramit a few times. It's like funny. A lot of people stand in line to take a picture with him because they seem like, they should still see him as equal. I think that's important to note with influencer. They're just people, just regular people. And if you can have a great conversation with an influencer about something different than business, that's pretty valuable. If you can just hang out as friends, as peers, because then you might come in on the inside instead of being like always on the other side, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
so
I totally get it. So basically your relationship to Ramit started with you having like this Alexi guy.
Michael Alexis, he's not even really in the kind of online space anymore. He used to write some epic guides, and that's kind of what I was very inspired by him early on. Like he was mostly not even really selling anything. It was just writing this amazing content and like doing podcasts and so on. He's a lawyer from Canada, and now I just recently met him actually for the first time in New York. Cool. So it's kind of is interesting how the dots connect, kind of like you kind of go back to that. Like he was one of the first people I kind of met in the online journey, found out about his epic guides. He wrote about Ramit in the past too. And then I now recently met him in New York, and it seems like it appears he's living there and working for a startup. So
That's
it's
cool.
quite funny.
Yeah, because and then you wrote like your friend Primoz. You wrote about him, and that was kind of what caught Ramit's attention. Or?
Yeah, well, I would say it was his team initially. Like I built what I wanted to, the point I wanted to get to here. A lot of people want to build a relationship with, let's say, Ramit Sethi or Marie Forley or Brendan Bouchard, whoever it is, right? And they're just, you can still send an email to Ramit. He's like, I think Ramit reads a lot of his emails, even though he's like 500,000 email subscribers or whatever it is. But he reads a lot of his emails. I think most of them like goes there, and obviously he can't maybe respond to everyone. But at least if you have something great to share, like let's say you got some results, he will notice that if you reach out. But an even better strategy, like that definitely will get you noticed, is to add value and build a relationship with their team, if that's possible for you. Like you can see, how can I add value to them? Maybe, Ramit has a lot of employees working for him. For example, like Primoz works for Ramit now, and different other people, a lot of people, were like 40 some people working for him now. And how can I add value to them? That's kind of, it should be your question. In my case, it was a little bit lucky, obviously, that I got this opportunity to interview some of his students. I could have said no to this opportunity too. I was super busy at the time, like doing a lot of things, but I gotta say yes to this. I just trusted my gut, and like, this has not only built a relationship with Ramit, but I also made like a lot of money, like over $70,000 from this, this alone, like from just saying yes to this first thing, which I didn't make anything for sharing these case studies on my website. And I'm sure that drew a lot of sales for Ramit's first launch, but I didn't get anything from that.
Yeah. So like how I see it is that creating a virtual summit is really good for like number one, connect with influencers, number two, create awesome content, and number three, build your email list, and number four, actually positioning your brand as an authority in your niche.
Yeah, totally. The positioning part is, one of the, I think I actually went through a survey results from some of my people who went through kind of some of my webinars, and also some people who didn't purchase Virtual Summit Master, and the people who joined, obviously, they say that one of the reasons they are considering, or they're creating a virtual summit, is because they want to build a loyal following. They want to position themselves as an expert in their field. They want to connect with influencers. They want to get more ideal clients. They want to maybe create a product. They want to, there's so many, build your email list. You see, the list goes on and on and on. There's so many different reasons. What I like also is that some people say, I just want to share great content with my audience. That to me is like the real reason why you should, you always want to focus on like, how can I add value to my audience, and how can I build these authentic, powerful relationships? And like, okay, you want to grow your list, that's great, but sometimes that's very centric around you, and that's totally okay if that's your goal. But it has to be something else too, that, you want to add value to people. You want to make this a win-win situation for your speakers to be involved and be on your summit. I think that's the main benefits for really even doing a summit. It's similar to like a webinar, but a webinar is like one-off. Instead on summit, you have like 20 to 30 experts, and like really going in depth in certain topics, and people can get some great results from applying that.
I really like what you're saying about the win-win situation. So that's kind of the important thing here. So basically what you're doing when you reach out to the influencers, you're creating a win-win situation for them, like how it will benefit them to be a part of your summit. That's number one. And then you need to kind of have in the back of your mind the strategy that the reason that you're creating this summit is actually to create awesome value for your audience. So it will be win-win for the influencer, and then win-win for your audience. And if you do it the right way, you will have like happy influencers and happy audience, and probably a few more people on your email list.
You're right. And what I mentioned a little bit earlier is that you make them look good too. Like you have the great content, you have a great graphics, and stuff like that. If you've seen any of my summits, or even if you're in my program, you see that I have like really, like the examples I provide, they're high quality, and you can use like canva.com to create graphics, like get the headshot, maybe even hire a designer if you're very bad with this stuff. But it doesn't have to cost that much to like make it professional today. Like we have the tools available for us. There's WordPress, there's ClickFunnels, lead pages. There's a lot of things to create the website and the images and really like make it a great experience, because most sites and most summits, they look like crap. So if you can make it like 100%, 200% better, that's gonna set you apart. Like imagine if you have pretty much the first summit in your industry. I mean, that's hard, let's say in the marketing space or health industry, but let's say you're in a different industry. Like summits can work in literally any niche. I've seen it in the cinematography space. I've seen it in scrapbooking.
Wow.
Come on. One of my students actually, she used to do the scrapbooking summits kind of, and now she's kind of transitioning away from that, but she did 6 figures on that. And
wow.
I've seen in like obviously the health, fitness. I've seen in the travel industry. I mean, I think there's no really industry that the summit wouldn't work in, as long as you have some experts to interview and kind of an online-based audience. A virtual summit would definitely work very, very well. And I think literally any market. Yeah, that's what I would say. As long as you have experts.
That's really cool. So what I think, like what my audience is wondering a bit about, so like when you're doing a virtual summit and you're positioning it as free, how do you monetize and earn money on the back end?
Yeah, so it starts with a landing page, very similar like to a webinar, whatever. So you have a landing page with information, and then people can opt in. You have a clear call to action. So like, they have whatever 30 experts share their best. Well, I mean, it can be something like that. I mean, you can, like in an example, webinarmasterysummit.com is like a summit they're students of mine, and they just launched now actually at the time of this recording, and they are very clear with their positioning, with their call to actions, and therefore they get more signups. And another example, I just like to provide here is the Women's Strength Summit. Another student, very clear, very specific. So when people land on this page, they feel compelled to sign up, because if it's a great fit for them, they feel, okay, this is for me, I'll sign up. And then on the thank you page, which is the next step in the funnel, you like, thank you for signing up to the summit, check your email for more details, whitelist your email, whatever. And then you have an offer there on that page, which kind of just says that you can purchase the All Access Pass, which includes all the interviews and some additional bonuses. And that's kind of an introductory early bird special price. So depending on the industry, because pricing is strategic, but typically in the online marketing space, I've done $97. And then during the summit or afterwards, I tend to raise that to $197 and all the way up to possibly $297. So that's how you monetize. That's like one way to monetize. There's a ton of ways, like sponsorships. There's like if you have there's affiliate income you can earn from a summit as well if you have that on board. So essentially that's it. And also in the back, like after the summit, it doesn't end there. You can like continue to get opt-ins, continue to get sales. If you just automate this a little bit with an evergreen funnel, maybe you publish a Kindle book, for example, and then you continue to get leads from the Kindle book. So that's some ways to kind of, first with the summit, how you generate money, sign up for free, and then you have the email sequence that goes out. So you have emails every day during the summit for the interviews, obviously, but you also mentioned the All Access Pass, because there's a lot of content to consume during a summit. Let's say over 10 days, you're going to consume like 30 to 40 interviews. That's quite a bit. Yeah. And that's a reason for it. You want to have this like high paced kind of environment where people, if they're hardcore, they might watch everything, which is great. But some people, they might say, hey, I want to own this content. I want to get the bonuses. And since the interviews are only available for a limited amount of time, from when they go live, they tend to purchase. So that's 48 hours or so every interview is available, and then they go offline, and they're only available for people who purchased All Access Pass. So that's the main way you monetize. And also there's more opportunities in the back end of that summit. So maybe at the end, that's an advanced strategy, but we did that with the Self-Publishing Success Summit. So Chandler, he already had a program called Self-Publishing School. And what we did was to do the regular promotion, like free sign up, and then we got a lot of sales for All Access Pass, raised the price kind of mid-summit after a week or so. And then at the last day of the summit, he did a webinar. He did a live training. He summarized a little bit of what went down during the summit and did his regular kind of webinar presentation. And for this 4-day promotion, after the webinar, we got $200,000 in sales.
What?
That just added $200,000 on top of the 120,000 we already made of the Summit All Access Pass itself. That was pretty much the only two monetization models we used. We used the Summit All Access Pass and upsell kind of his high-end program at the end. That was the main two, maybe a little bit affiliate. I think he had a few affiliate links on the pages, but overall, that was the main thing. So you don't have to do everything to be successful. And the same way with the promotion we did there, mostly speakers and channelers on list. That's how we promoted, and some retargeting ads. That's pretty much it, how we did it. And there's a lot of ways you can promote a summit and get the word out there to get that level of success. But even if you get a few thousand and you're just starting out, that's amazing, because Chandler already had a bigger budget to invest into the project, bringing me on board, bringing other people on board. So that's just worth considering when you're doing this. And you don't need to have a product in the back end like he did. I didn't have that for the branding summit, and I was still successful. I still leveraged that. You can launch a pilot program during a summit. That's kind of how I did it initially, kind of get Virtual Summit Mastery out there, validate the idea, and then it turned into something much bigger later on.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So, because I know I interviewed you a few weeks ago, but due to the internet connection, we needed to kind of scratch that interview, unfortunately. But what you were talking about then was interesting. Was kind of the progress that you had from your first year, your second year.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, that's awesome. So, yeah, the first year, was not really a business. So, I was speaking a little bit earlier. I was just kind of documenting my own journey, trying to find my voice and so on. And obviously, you don't make a lot of money when you just find your voice. Nobody wants to pay you money for that. So it was not really a business, even though I was like, oh, I have a business. No, you didn't have a business. It was like a blog, and a blog is not a business unless you're you have an email list, and that's kind of your business. In the back end, you have products and services. But I was making a little bit of money, a few $100s off a Bluehost affiliate link here and there, maybe lead pages. I kind of got some friends to purchase, I think. And also, I still remember when I got the first sale of someone who I didn't know of my site. That was pretty cool. I think it was $14 or so, not bad. And then the second year started off, pretty well, I would say. I did invest in a designer late 2000. I think it was late 2013. And then 2014, when I got into that year, I got some clients, kind of one client initially, $500, for a month or so. And then I think he refunded, I think he'd asked for a refund. I gave him $100 back or something like that. He said no. And he was happy with the sessions all the way through till that point. I was like, okay, sure. And then, what else? So I also sent my designer some clients initially, for his stuff. So I get a little bit of money there. And then I was pushed also to do a webinar, kind of, and launch a product. But I didn't have an email list. I had 100 people on my list in January of 2014. It was a small, almost no audience. And I was trying to launch a product. Obviously, that's kind of doomed to fail. And I did it anyway because I was pushed by, I was in the mastermind, Lewis House was it was Lewis House mastermind. And it was good, and he pushed me to do it. And I'm glad I did, because I got experience to kind of set up a webinar, act quickly, and create my slides. It was the first time I ever did that. And I got out of my comfort zone a little bit. So I'm still glad I pushed through that, but I didn't get a lot of sales, even though it was my first webinar sales. So I got 1 or 2 sales or so, maybe 2. And then I did it again, kind of changed the name. It was called Branding in a Weekend first, and then Branding School. I have not really shared this anywhere. It's kind of embarrassing because I kind of scrapped that project because I felt like a fraud teaching it. I didn't have the strongest brand myself. I haven't really done it. You know what I mean? So it was kind of not the way I wanted to build my business moving forward. I wanted to have some level of success on my own, but I still was interested in personal branding. So I continued to post a few blog posts. I did like an expert roundup post on this topic. And then kind of my podcast launch, still not making a lot of money. I got a client here and there, like pay me. I mean, I raised my hourly rate, but I didn't get a lot of people paying me that. So I still had that rate of like $250 an hour at the time. And I had people paying me that. So which felt pretty good because I was adding value. He was very happy with what I was providing to him. But then I got into kind of, focusing on the summit. And that's when things started to kind of kick off. I was doing the interviews, still not making a lot of money. I had my part-time job in 2014. Then I launched it, got up to like another $220,000 in revenue from that summit. I think it wasn't even in profit because it had very low expenses at the time. Very low expenses, like almost. I mean, I had like my Aweber, like you know how it is when you're like bootstrapping. I had like almost no expenses, so everything I made pretty much it was like just for me. So that felt pretty damn good when I did that. Like the day I quit my job, I still remember it. I made over $5,000 November 28, 2014. I was like sitting at my job, I was thinking, like someone wants to buy 50 passes of the branding summit. Sure, I'll take that any day of the week. And so I just got this momentum from this. And all in all, in 2000, so get back to that, how much I made in 2014 is around I think 27 to 30,000 all in all.
That's really good.
Yeah, so that's kind of from a few hundred to 27. And in 2015, I earned over 200,000 with my six figures was from affiliate. A little over 100,000 from affiliate commissions and over 100,000 for virtual summit mastery. And this year I hope to 3x or even 4x things with my launches. I mean, that's my optimistic goal. Let's see if we get there. I tend to see if you set an optimistic goal and like, even if you reach like part of this goal, you're still gonna be more successful than if you said, like, let's say I only said, okay, this year I'm going to make 250,000. Like I'm going to like make $10,000 more or whatever I made last year. It's not really going to make a bigger difference than I say, okay, I'm going to 3x my business. Like that's more optimistic. And obviously that's backed up by, yes, if I grow my email list 3 to 4x, it should also grow my business quite a bit. And I have more money now to invest in Facebook ads. And I have never done Facebook ads before. So all this growth up until this point in 2016, we are doing this, has been all organic. So I have about 10,000 people now on my list, but I want to grow that to, let's say, 40,000, 50,000 throughout the course of the year. I have a summit coming up. I have partnerships with people. So that's kind of where it comes in. When you have these relationships, you can do workshops. You can get people to promote your launches. And that's like, you can get a lot of people signing up. Like if you have a handful of great people promoting you, get thousands of people signing up for a product launch, for a summit, for whatever it is, right? So that's my main strategy still, is leveraging the relationships because I've added so much value to them. I continue to promote them. I continue to share their message with my audience and just being, of service to them.
And that's really cool. And what's really important here is that the reason kind of why I think it's so cool with that you're able to kind of increase your income a lot. It's that building an online business, it's not all about money and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is that in order for you to be able to live from it, it would kind of be helpful if you were able to make a profit. And I think it's really good. It's also like what Mark Cuban says, that the thing about numbers when you grow a business, it's kind of a good indicator. It's a good measurement of how your business is doing. So obviously, if you're earning $200 a year, like the first year, and like $20,000 the next year, obviously you've been able to do something right.
No, it's going. I mean, it was still this slow process. I had this. I mean, you said, I grew my business quickly. Yeah, to the outside, it looks very quickly. But for me personally, it was very slow. When I was sitting there in 2013, my draining part-time job, I was working there. And literally at the same time, I had like the screen kind of looking over my shoulder to make sure my boss wasn't there because I was working on my business, my soon-to-be business, because it was not really making any money. I was writing blog posts, was connecting with people on Facebook, Twitter, different things I was doing. And it was just a lot of hustle, and you have to be willing to work hard to build the relationships, because in the beginning, the relationships will not make you money right away. I mean, they will not do that. It's not how you build anything. You need to nurture the relationships, and eventually, when you have something, you've created something that people is what's worth paying attention to, then you might see some traction. And that's what I saw with the branding summit. It was noteworthy, and people shared that as well with their audiences, and that got me featured later on Business Insider, thanks to a connection with Navid Moazzez. So it's really like you need to build a relationship with not only the biggest players in your field, but also up and comers and other people just starting out. It's very valuable to do that, because if I connected with Primoz when he was kind of just, his business was taking off a little bit there after he took serious launch, and now I've seen his journey kind of going from making very little money to like all the way up to 6 figures, now working with Ramit Sethi, traveling all over the world, and we are good friends. I mean, he was not considered an influencer or anyone like to care about in the early days, but now like we are friends because we were like helping each other move to the top pretty much. And that's very important as well too, because if you're going to connect with someone who's an influencer, you probably won't get on a weekly call with this person, just like chat about things and different, all this stuff. So I think that's the value of connecting with other people as well, because they will become maybe the next influencers later on, and you can become good friends with them.
Absolutely. And that's so important, that what you're saying there, that not just go for the big dogs, but actually just go for people who you kind of have the same values for, and things like that. Because the most important thing is that if you're able to kind of network with other people that are up and coming, you will kind of, as you and Primoz has done, you will kind of grow together as you kind of become more and more successful. And that's like a really great journey.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's exactly how it was for me moving forward. How I got to this point, and like really how that's a little bit. I mean, we connected. I forgot. I was reaching out to you for this post I'm writing on list building. I think I knew about you before. Like I've seen some of your expert roundup posts. I'm not sure. I think you kind of knew about me as well a little bit.
Yeah.
And and then now we're having this interview. You're gonna help me out with some promotion. We might even co-create a product later. So that's how fast it can build. But it would take longer. Maybe if that person was not approachable, maybe they're so busy with their launches. It's not like you're gonna go to a Pat Flynn if you're at least not in 2016 to build that relationship with Pat Flynn. Maybe in 2008. Maybe in 2008 would have been easier. But not in 2016 when he's super busy, right?
Yeah.
And it's a little bit the same with John Lee Dumas now. To just take an example, how I started building a relationship with him was that I joined his Fire Nation Elite Mastermind. That's how I became friends with John initially, and added a lot of value in that community. And when I reached out to John Lee Dumas to be on his podcast, he said, "We don't really do more interviews right now for the year, but I'm going to make an exception for you." So we did the interview like in late December of 2015, and now it's about to go live. So you see, it's a big process there. It's like 3 months. It's like doing them ahead of time, big time. And I just really wanted to get featured there. I think I also waited. I didn't just because I was friends with him or because I knew him, reach out when I didn't have this level of success I wanted. I wanted to have a good story to share on his podcast, so I could like get the leverage. I wanted to share amazing value to his audience, but at the same time get some value back to me. When I share this story, people feel more inspired because now I've reached that level, so I felt like I was worthy for being on the EO Fire podcast pretty much.
Yeah, and it's so smart that you're talking about that, because like even though you have a good relationship with an influencer, it's more like a long-term goal. So you kind of need to really deliver first, so you will have even more value when you kind of go on the podcast or go on a guest post. Because the thing is, the long term, the more value you can give for his or her audience, the better it will be for their audience, your network with influencers, and probably your ability to grow your own list from that.
Totally, yeah.
That is so awesome. So at the end, tell me a little bit where people can find out more about you, Navid.
Yeah, so the best way, I mean, I can provide your audience a little gift. If they're interested more in kind of virtual summits, I've shared a little bit here today, they can go to virtualsummitmastery.com/tour. I think that's good.
Yeah.
TOR.
Yeah,
So
that's
virtualsummitmastery.com/TOR. And you can get your bonus gift there. It's going to be some good stuff for you. And you can also connect with me over at navidmoazzez.com. And that's my main website, and where I share my blog posts and stuff like that. So that's the best ways.
That's awesome. I will put the links in the blog post beneath the video. And like Navid, he is the man, he is the real deal, and how he's managed to do this in such a short period of time. Everyone who wants to grow their business and brand fast, visit his awesome offers. Thanks a lot, Navid, for having this interview with me.
Thanks so much.
Okay, bye-bye.